So we are essentially the rescue boat. And what's really just a little bit of backstory to Whitewater Consulting as far as how we came up with that name. It goes back a few years ago where I had the opportunity to go to Canada and be on a 3 week canoe trip with three other guys. And halfway through that trip, we had gone over to the shore. We were having lunch. We were looking at our maps and we were looking at what was ahead of us for that afternoon. And we knew we were coming up to, according to the maps, a set of double rapids in the river system in Canada. And as we went through the first set of rapids and came through that unscathed. But as we were going and approaching our second set of rapids, we soon started to hear this roar at the other end of the horizon. And what we quickly learned was that the current was picking up, and our canoe had gotten sideways in the water, and we were actually headed for a waterfall and not for another set of rapids.
Oh my.
And as we went through that, fortunately for us, one of the gentlemen in the back canoe had been through a very similar experience a few years before. And he began giving very specific instructions to both myself and the partner in my canoe. And by following his instructions, it allowed us to basically get our canoe straightened out and to get out of the current and to get to shore in a safe way, versus if he had not been there, without question, we would have gone over the falls. And I have no idea what would have happened at that point.
Wow.
But what I learned from that was that having real life experience was really important. But
Mhm.
being able to take that experience and that knowledge and wisdom that's gained through real life experiences and being able to communicate that in a very concise and clear way so that it is easily put into action is really important as well. So, as that gentleman was the guide to help me navigate out of a really difficult situation, that is ultimately what I want to do with my clients, is to be able to help them navigate the white waters that they go through as being a business owner.
That's fantastic. Have you walked away something and you're like, "Oh, honey, this is gonna be good dinner talk tonight." Like
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, there's so many stories around that. So just for one of those examples, so they were a prospective client at the time, and they were looking at becoming a coaching client at that particular time. And this goes back a couple of years ago. But what was really interesting was the business owner told me, he said, I keep reading and I'm hearing all of these things about the great resignation, quiet quitting, companies losing employees. So he said, what I decided to do was, I've got 70, almost 80 employees. I decided to give a 15% across the board pay raise because I wanted to solidify my employees and make sure they weren't going anywhere. He gave the pay raise, and he came back on our first coaching call and he said, Chuck, I don't understand. I gave my employees this pay raise, and I've not had one person come and talk with me or even acknowledge that they received a pay raise.
Mhm.
He goes, what am I missing? And my question to him was, I said, let me ask, before you gave the pay raise, did you actually go and talk to your employees to find out what was important to them?
Mhm.
And it was dead quiet. And he said, no, I just assumed that money was the key, was the driving factor here. And I just wanted to make sure everybody
Mhm.
was well taken care of. I said, this next week, I want you to go back and talk to 3 to 5 of your employees and find out and ask them the question, what's really important to you? And how can I make your life better week in and week out?
Mhm.
And he came back the following week and he said, I just made the biggest financial mistake that I've made in many years. He said, I didn't need to give the raise because these people, all they were really looking for, I had one employee that's got a sick child at home. They were looking to come in about 30 minutes to an hour later, willing to stay at the end of the day. And all they were looking for was the flexibility and time.
Mhm.
As I'm really looking at ways I need to be able to focus on retirement, and I'm looking for some additional benefits in these key areas. I'm happy to pay for it out of my pocket. I just need to have it made available. So there was just example after example like this. And so what he learned was, he said, I just needed to talk to my people and ask them what was important to them before I made that decision.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so it cost him, at the end of the day, it cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for him to do what he did, and he didn't have to do that.
Wow.
And now he's realized from that mistake, I need to engage and I need to be talking and listening to my employees. And now his whole culture has actually changed in the last year because of that.
Wow, that's so good.